Mr. President, can you respond to these Epstein emails that were released today?
Well done, Mr. President. Great job.
So Donald Trump's press conference last night, in which he signed a bill reopening the federal government, erupted in chaos, resulting in Trump not taking questions from reporters and his staff kicking reporters out of the room because they were asking uncomfortable questions about Jeffrey Epstein, following yesterday's bombshell story about leaked emails between Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and journalist Michael Wolff, in which Epstein alleges that Trump knew all about Epstein's various sinister, nefarious crimes. And so how often do you see Donald Trump refuse to engage with reporters? How often do you see him panic and kick people out of the room rather than engage with reporters? It's extremely rare and at moments of incredible political discomfort. So Trump is panicking, and it could not be clearer. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, as I said yesterday, Trump signed a bill into law reopening the federal government. We'll talk about that bill in a separate video because Senate Republicans, 8 of them, snuck in some pretty shamelessly self-serving shit that even MAGA congresspeople in particular are complaining about, including Mike Johnson. But we'll get into that in a separate video. But let's look at the presser itself.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if you have questions. I think we really have a really great situation. We have a country that we love, and we have a country that's in great shape. As you know, we have now it's over $18 trillion invested in our country by other people and countries. That's a record. There's never been a country that had so much, and that money's going into also building new auto plants, new AI plants, new everything. We've never had a time like this. Thank you very much, everybody.
Mr. President, are you prepared to negotiate with Democrats now?
Mr. President, on Jeffrey Epstein,
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for knowing.
Mr. President, can you respond to these Epstein emails that were released today?
So it's hilarious. He's like, I don't know if anybody has any questions. And then he seems to be working it out in real time. Oh, shit, I don't want to take questions from reporters. They're going to ask about the damn Epstein emails. And so, again, pure panic on Trump's part. I will say, of course, the $18 trillion figure that Trump cited is, of course, bullshit, orders of magnitude off. Even the White House is only claiming $8.8 trillion. That figure has been fact-checked to hell and back. Trump is just lying. He's not just fudging the numbers. He is just objectively orders of magnitude off, and he's hoping you don't notice. But as reporters were being shuttled out of the room, ferried out of the room, they continued to heckle Trump with questions about Epstein that he was desperate to ignore. Man, the White House staff was eager to get them the hell out. Just goes to show how atrocious this really is for Donald Trump, how the polling on it is about as bad as it could be. Now, it hasn't quite shattered the MAGA movement as many people speculated it might, because, of course, when push comes to shove, for the most part, MAGA remains an authoritarian cult of personality. And quite frankly, a lot of people in this country who are devout Trump supporters actually don't give a damn if not only he knew about Epstein's crimes, but was directly involved. They grade him on a curve, and they're willing to tolerate. I mean, Trump said famously years ago that he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and not lose a single vote. That's a slight exaggeration, but he would certainly lose fewer votes than that sort of behavior might expect. And we're starting to see that play out on the Epstein stuff. However, with the majority of this country, and particularly independents who are not part of the Trump cult, the Epstein situation is atrocious for Trump. I mean, poll after poll after poll after poll shows, going back since the beginning of this crisis, most Americans believe that Trump knew about what Epstein was doing. Many believe that Trump was actively involved in what Epstein was doing. Most Americans believe that Trump is engaging in a cover-up of the Epstein files to protect himself and his allies. And that's quite atrocious. It's not a high salience issue, like more people are concerned, obviously, with their own paychecks and finances than they are the Epstein files. But to the extent that the Epstein files is discussed, it is a massive loser for Trump. And that's why he's trying to hide from the press. Here's some other clips.
They caused 20,000 flights to be canceled or delayed. They departed so many times, so late. People were hurt so badly. Nobody's ever seen anything like this one. This was a no-brainer. This was an easy extension. But they didn't want to do it the easy way. They had to do it the hard way. And they look very bad, the Democrats do. They deprived more than 1 million government workers from their paychecks and cut off food stamp benefits for millions and millions more Americans in need. They caused tens of thousands of federal contractors and small businesses to go unpaid, and the total effect of the damage their antics caused will take weeks and probably months to really calculate.
It's actually pretty bad that Trump did all of that. It's actually insane that Trump did all of that. Remember, poll after poll after poll shows more Americans than blaming Democrats blame Trump and the Republicans for the shutdown because he refused to negotiate with them and he was trying to strip away their health care. He was trying to double, triple, quadruple their health insurance premiums by refusing to extend the Obamacare subsidies. That's on Trump. Trump is hoping you don't notice. And he also throws a pitch in here about please, please, please don't blame me when the midterms come around.
Accurately, including the serious harm that they did to our economy and to people and to families. So I just want to tell the American people, you should not forget this. When we come up to midterms and other things, don't forget what they've done.
The midterms, again, not set in stone, but not looking great for Trump, given that the polling, again, for him is so atrocious. He's hemorrhaging support. He's objectively the most unpopular president in the history of American presidential polling, and that's why he's been so desperate to rig the midterms in his favor by way of gerrymandering. Trump, of course, did not have to break the filibuster. He started a pressure campaign to get the Senate to break the filibuster. But even though the government is now officially reopened, Trump is doubling down in demanding that senators get rid of the filibuster.
I also want to call for a termination to the filibuster so that this can never happen again. If we had the filibuster terminated, this would never happen again. And don't forget, we have another date coming up in the not too distant future. We can never let this happen again. And we should be able to pass great, really great legislation. So I say terminate the filibuster because, by the way, the Democrats will do it immediately if they ever assumed office, which hopefully they won't.
So, again, the filibuster is something that Donald Trump has wanted to terminate since his first term, and understandably so. A lot of Democrats, myself included, want to either make a bunch of exceptions to the filibuster or get rid of it wholesale. I do believe in, popular majority rule. I think when you deal with things like civil rights and constitutional amendments and impeachments, you need to have a supermajority, but for the most part, day-to-day legislation should be done with a simple majority. Trump sounds like he's going to continue his pressure campaign on Senate Republicans, and it is true that this is merely a continuing resolution. It's not a budget, meaning that there's the possibility that we'd see another government shutdown at the end of January. We don't know. That may or may not happen, but Trump is clearly, in a rare moment, thinking ahead and thinking, Jesus, I want to forestall this and avoid the polling bloodbath that I've taken as a consequence of this, so let's just get rid of the filibuster so we can avoid this. Will Senate Republicans comply? It remains to be seen.
The federal government will now resume normal operations, and my administration and our partners in Congress will continue our work to lower the cost of living, restore public safety, grow our economy, and make America affordable again for all Americans. Again, costs are way down. Energy is way down. Gasoline is at $2.50 a gallon versus $4.70 for the Democrats. And we think we're going to hit pretty close to $2 a gallon. That's like...
He's lying his ass off. Gas is not $2.50 a gallon. He's been claiming that there's been $2 gas for months and months and months, but just lying about it. And so, again, he's hoping you don't notice because by his own lights, by his own words, gas should have been $2. Gas has been $2.50 for months. That's what Trump has been saying. Now he's admitting, well, okay, it hasn't been, but it will be this time. Okay, I was lying before, but I'm being serious this time. It's not true. And of course, the cost of things and affordability are, skyrocketing. Things are becoming unaffordable. It's why Trump is hemorrhaging support on the economy, on affordability. It's why he's trying to co-opt that message, knowing that it was used successfully to crush his party in last Tuesday's off-year elections. He's hoping to, reorient that, but the polling and the American sentiment and consumer sentiment are working against him in this respect. So he's just lying his ass off and hoping that you don't notice. Here's another clip.
But it all includes fixing the healthcare system that Democrats broke with the disaster known as Obamacare. Obamacare was a disaster from day one. It's done nothing but go up. And if you remember President Barack Hussein Obama, when he came up with this crazy idea, He said everything's going to be great. Rates are going to go down. Payments are going to go down. Everything's going to go down. It went the exact opposite with the biggest increase of healthcare in any country. It's a disaster. And I'm calling today for insurance companies not to be paid, but for the money, this massive amount of money, to be paid directly to the people of our country so that they can buy their own health care, which will be far better and far less expensive than the disaster known as Obamacare. And I've had, I think, great support. I've even had Democrat support.
No, he is not. Now, if he wants to repeal and replace Obamacare with single-payer healthcare, Medicare for all, that would probably get a lot of support. But the only thing worse than dealing with insurance companies would instead be giving some sort of direct one-time subsidy to the American people and saying, good luck, you negotiate your own healthcare. You deal with insurance companies. You deal with doctors. Like, just imagine what that would be. As bad as the worst aspects of Obamacare are, and there's plenty to criticize, people don't have to negotiate their own health insurance premiums. Trump is saying is, you basically become your own insurance company, and you work out the premiums, you negotiate with all the parties involved, and just add that to your plate. That's pretty stupid, to say nothing of the fact that, as Chris Murphy and other health experts have noted, what happens when somebody gets so sick that the subsidy, the monthly premium that Trump, I guess, is proposing that the federal government pay is insufficient to take care of the bills? Like, what if your bills exceed your monthly premium? Or did you go bankrupt? Like, what are you talking about? So, of the options that are before us, Trump naturally picks the worst one. He's lying when he says that this has widespread support. It doesn't. And with respect to Obamacare, he can complain about Obamacare all he wants. And again, there are things to complain about. But Obamacare is objectively popular, which is why Trump has failed to repeal and replace Obamacare by way of legislature, by way of the Supreme Court. And the polling on this is quite clear. People don't want the ACA repealed and replaced, certainly not by Trump. Now, again, if he wants to look into something like Bernie Sanders and the AOC believe it, single payer option, Medicare for all, there's room there. But this idea that Trump is proposing is certainly not popular and does not have widespread support, and it would be absolutely disastrous in effect. So there you have it, folks. Trump freaking out about the Epstein files, ending this disastrous presser early, kicking the media out, running away from the press. Pretty pathetic shit. But in the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.